Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and also thank you to the ranking member. I think every day on this subcommittee we recognize that the ranking member probably has forgotten more than many of us will know in our service on this committee. Mr. Peck, I know that you'll be heartbroken to know that I was almost delayed in another hearing, but glad to make it here. I want to ask you first to follow up on the park lawn situation, and I know that we're in that critical area where you really can't talk about things, but I guess I want to hear from you that you have some assurances that the processes in which you've engaged, and particularly of late with respect to that lease, will not result in litigation that will extend this process even further than it has gone on already.
The assurance I can give you is that this thing has been vetted every which way till Monday inside the GSA in an attempt to make sure that we're abiding by what we said to the real estate and official and private, for that matter, the whole public in this region about how we were going to go how we were going to make the selection on this procurement. I can't give you an assurance that someone won't litigate. Unfortunately, my experience in this is that on very large lease acquisitions like this one, there's almost always someone who's willing to take exception to what happened, if only because they're disappointed and think they may be able to change the decision.
Well, thank you very much.
But I hope that doesn't happen.
I mean, people, I understand, obviously, many of the participants, or some of them, somebody's going to be disappointed because they're not going to get the procurement. I think I just worry that this particular procurement has been so fraught with problems that it may result in a deep perception that there's a great unfairness, and that unfairness has to be litigated. And I fear that we're going to sit here a year from now discussing the same thing. But I'm going to go on. I want to ask you about an area that's been of great concern to me in my time on this committee, and it has to do with the lease rate disparities from Maryland to Northern Virginia to the District of Columbia when it comes to leasing. I think many of us who live and work here think of this as a region, and we don't understand why these disparities exist that seem to favor one jurisdiction over another jurisdiction, that it's actually, I think, resulted in my view as a layperson, a lot of concern about fairness of process when it comes to those sort of the higher quality leases. So I wonder if you can explain for the record what the reason is for the rent disparity, and then I'd like you to go down several jurisdictions. Is there a rental rate disparity in Denver or New York City or Philadelphia or St. Louis or Los Angeles or San Diego or San Francisco or even Baltimore in my own state that is like the disparity that exists here in this region?
There are not. We do not preset what we call program rates for any of those other metropolitan areas.
Only for this metropolitan area. And do you have any idea historically or otherwise what the reason is for that disparity?
I don't know why the program rates were set in the first place. I don't know for sure. I have been told that there was, obviously in this area, the Federal Government is a large lessee, and I believe there may have been a sense at some point that the Federal Government, by setting rates which were presumably market rates in advance, or perhaps just below market rates in advance, we could save taxpayer dollars by announcing to the real estate community that this is as high as we were prepared to go on rent and no higher.
Well, I don't really get that when there's a disparity in the region. When you set the high mark, but there's a disparity from Maryland to Virginia to the District of Columbia, it would seem to me that, especially for people who believe in the value of the marketplace, that indeed you've actually scripted and constrained the marketplace in terms of competition, and I'm concerned about that. I know I'm just, your average consumer, and so I live in Prince George's County, but sometimes I shop in Montgomery County, and other times I drive over to get a book in Northern Virginia, and I know my car doesn't make a distinction about where it is in the metropolitan area, and so I don't understand why GSA does. And if you can't explain why it does, and you can't find anything in your history that explains why it does, then we need to get rid of the disparity, don't you think?
Let me make one point to clarify. But in general, I think there are, one, I have to say, you're no longer a layperson. I think you know as much about the real estate market as anyone, given what you've learned, the way you've delved into this. There are clearly different rental rates in different parts of the metropolitan area. In fact, I mean, one of the ironies of the program rates is one could argue there should be 50 program rates, because there are probably that many real estate submarkets. Not every place in Washington is at $49, which is our program rate. There are different parts of town, different parts of Prince George's that have different rates. Closer to a metro station will probably you'll pay a higher rate than you will someplace else. So that reflects the market. However, you accurately describe what are concerns about setting these rates in advance, which is that you can constrain competition. I believe in some cases one can make the argument that while the intention was to keep us from paying a higher rate, in some cases the fact that we advertise in advance what we're prepared to pay, some cases may even raise the rates. And then there are instances in which, as you and I have discussed, if we actually have to go out and if someone has to construct a new building to meet our requirement, there are times, such as now, in which the program rate may not give a landlord enough rent to be able to finance new construction. And so there are a lot of problems with this. We're taking a look at, and I'm hoping we can have some success in reforming this so it either better does, so that it better reflects what a good market-based real estate strategy would do.
Well, the people of Prince George's and Montgomery County want to know, when is it our turn? And so I know you've been looking at this for some time. These are questions that we've raised, and I've raised, the ranking member has raised repeatedly. And I think it's time to stop looking and to clear it up. If it doesn't exist for New York City, it doesn't exist for Los Angeles or Denver or St. Louis, then it shouldn't exist for the Washington metropolitan region. Thank you very much, and I yield, Mr. Chairman.